We have to stop being comfortable with being uncomfortable. We have to stop being scared and show some backbone.
That's right.
Support one another. Stop letting evil divide us. Tap into your God consciousness.
Not hungry for food.
Hungry for justice.
Peace and power. You're not tuned into Radio. That's Radio, and we are live at Detroit United. It's a fine black establishment here for episode 52, Hungry for Justice, featuring Baba Baxter Jones. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mindful B.
Kojo Lee.
And Phil Keith.
And we also have Sister
Shamika Nichols.
and Brother
Charles Bell.
and Baba.
Yes.
Baba Baxter Jones, episode 52. We've been doing this for a while. We're looking forward to getting into it. We're going to let our guests introduce themselves, but I will say a couple words just to frame it. Thank you. And just read what we've been sharing on our Facebook, Radio, and in the event page. Episode 52, Hungry for Justice with Baba Baxter Jones. Radio invites you to join our live studio audience. Our studio audience is looking really nice. And as we host Baba Baxter, Sister Shamika, and Brother Charles Bell, and this episode is entitled, excuse me, Hungry for Justice. And we have Sister Shamika, who will be speaking about what this fight looks like when it comes to your door, and how to address that by knowing what it looks like. Brother Charles Bell has an extensive research background, and we're speaking about his letter writing campaign that he started, but we're all engaged in. Of course, Baba Baxter, who is speaking about the hunger strike. And so I'm going to allow Sister Shamika to give a more thorough introduction of herself, as I cannot speak to all of your accolades.
Thank you. My name is Shamika Nichols. I'm a full-time activist. I began working with Baba Baxter and advocates for Baxter just recently this past year, over the summer. What drew me to Baba Baxter's movement is that he would like to address bullying on a level that's a little bit more intrinsic and a little bit more personal, especially as African American. Bullying is sometimes thought of as only being something that occurs on the playground, when in fact it's something that happens in our everyday life, especially when you're dealing with corporate America. So I'm also the owner of Choose to Talk Mediation Agency, and I've also began a program called Mediate Me Peer Mediation Program, which addresses bully prevention, and that's why I'm here today.
And by bullying, you're referring to the Baxter's Beat Back the Bullies Brigade.
Yes.
Excellent. Brother Bell?
My name is Charles Bell. I'm a PhD candidate at Wayne State University. My specialization is in social inequality. So definitely gravitated towards Baxter because of the inequalities that are embedded in his campaign. When he talks about bullying, and when we talk about mass incarceration, education, we see bullying every day and it affects millions of people. So I just admired Baxter's courage to stand up, to fight his hunger strike, and I actually got involved over the summer and would like to see this thing all the way through.
Absolutely. And Bob Baxter, I can say a couple words, or if you want to introduce, you want to share some background about yourself.
You
Okay.
say you want to say.
I can share a couple things. I know you'll be talking about your struggle in the segment in just a moment. Baba Baxter is a former DPS teacher. He is an activist and is a longtime person advocating for justice, especially in Detroit, and making spaces more accessible to places more accessible to being recipients of justice that we need. And so we're past 90 days, if I'm not correct, of your hunger strike.
Today is the 100th day.
Today is the 100th day. Wow. And so Baba Baxter is with us and is going to be sharing about the hunger strike that he is doing. And it's just a beautiful experience to be able to have that type of revolutionary discipline. And we just honor and salute you for being on the show, Baba Baxter.
Thank you.
Yes. And so I'm going to jump right in. I know some of the people have been following the Facebook event, and we've been asking people to respond to some of the questions that we had. Who are the bullies that we refer to in Baxter's Be Back the Bully Brigade? Why hunger strike? What are the history of hunger strikes when they've been successful? And there's this whole letter writing campaign. So we're going to start jumping into that. There's one more point that kind of frames this day in significance, and we're going to let Kojo talk about the spiritual significance of this event and doing it on this day.
Absolutely. There's an aspect to winter that is deeply entrenched in a lot of the religious texts. The crucifixion, when the sun dies and comes back 3 days later. We're talking about the symbolism of the shortest day of the year, when the sun isn't there for us, so to speak, and we have to be our own light. We have to go inside and find ourselves. It's important in this time to do deep reflection, because in order for the soil to be laid for the spring, we have to toil it now and prepare it now for the spring, which again kind of goes into Easter, which is why we have these religious teachings that in iniquity relate back to something that harvesting, something natural, something that you can easily understand, that's not confusing. So one thing that I focus on the Readyo team is looking at the spiritual elements of life. So one thing that really is in my heart to speak about is with this self-reflecting, understand that we have people in our community doing this work, such as Baxter, such as the Readyo team. You know somebody doing some kind of work in your community, and it's important that we get involved, because one person can't do this. Two people can't do this. We need a community to do this. And we always know in iniquity, there's proverbs about it takes a village to raise a child. So again, as we go into this year, we see where we are. More of us are understanding where we are, and a lot of us haven't quite gotten it. We look at slavery and different things, and we feel like it's so far removed, or but it's still going on today to an extent, and it takes a toll on us. This is why we have this type of movement going on, because a lot of times it takes something dramatic to get people to understand that something has changed, and in my opinion, a lot of that comes from being busy and get caught up in the storm and not having enough space. So this winter, as we go into these 3 short days, and just the winter in general, which sometimes comes with the winter blues, pain has a way of teaching us a deep lesson. So as we go through this winter solstice, it was a very painful year socially, economically, in so many ways. It was a very painful year, and this is an honor to be celebrating the 100th day of this. I call it a ceremony to an extent, because it's a cry, it's a alarm, and through any valley we go through, there's a lesson that we learn from that, and we can allow ourselves to get back to the peak, which is what they call the summer solstice, where the sun is everlasting. But in brief, I just want to say thank you all for coming and being with us today, and just understand that you are amazing, and understand that a lot of what we run from is the power that we have, and it's not so much, we know what's going to happen if we don't do anything different. It's going to be the same thing. So a lot of times we fear, what if we did something different? It sounds weird, but that's really what happens in our minds. So again, as we go through this winter, let's really look deep and see how we can be better servants to one another.
Absolutely. And so we're going to jump right into getting some of the information about about the hunger strike, and what Baba Baxter, what encouraged you to, inspired you to be on this journey 100 days ago, to start this journey.
Well, I like many people, when you've tried everything that they tell you you're supposed to do
That's right.
to fix your situation, and nothing seems to work, you become frustrated. Sometimes you become desperate. You turn to, I call it a different type of prayer. And in my case, you ask your Creator for guidance through the storm, for the wisdom of what choice to make. If you would have told me on September 13th that I would be having to go 100 days without solid food, I don't know if I would have made this choice. Knowing how hard it's been. And maybe that's why God doesn't give us the ability, most of us, to look into the future, to predict the future. But I'm here now. And it's probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. I could not have gotten this far without support. Support is very, very important in everything that we do. And so I'm not sure if that totally answers your question or not.
Absolutely. I think we're going to get more into some of the other reasons and what hunger strike really means. I know we got a break coming up, and so I'm just going to read the definition for hunger strike, and then we can jump into that and maybe talk about more about the letter writing campaign to President Obama. Really quickly, it says a hunger strike is a method of nonviolent resistance or pressure in which participants fast as an act of political protest or to provoke feelings of guilt in others, usually with the objective to achieve a specific goal, such as policy change. Hunger strikers usually take fluids but not solid food, which is, it's just a sacrifice, period. And this just takes revolutionary discipline. And so we're going to jump more into that and let some of our other panelists and then our co-hosts give their perspective from how does this relate to preparedness, what does this look like, hitting our daily steps, and so on. So we'll be right back after these messages with Readyo.
Readyo.
People's territory. This is people's territory. This is people's territory. Baxter's house. Whose house? Baxter's house. Whose house? Baxter's house. Whose house? Baxter's house. So we want people to know. That Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are terrible when it comes to actually dealing with homeowners and dealing with them in the way that they deserve. Can we get another boo? We came in early. About 15 of us went upstairs to talk about Baxter Jones, who was a former Detroit school teacher, who has suffered traumatic brain injury, lost his job, should have been provided with a special arrangement under a forbearance program by Wells Fargo Bank for people with disabilities or unemployed. They failed to do that. It was part of the whole pattern of mortgage fraud that has existed in Chicago, Detroit, and elsewhere. He's now facing imminent eviction in court when the bankruptcy judge was saying to Fannie Mae, can't you work out something? Can't you negotiate? At one point, we thought there was going to be a deal where they would sell him his house at market value. That was nullified. Instead of $58,000, which even the bank for Fannie Mae said was the market value, Fannie Mae just 2 weeks ago said, no, we want $258,000. This is S. Baxter Jones, the one we're defending.
I would like to say thank you to all of you for being brave and standing up against the banks and their bullying, because that's what this is. It's bullying.
Can you get flyers to
It's
people?
just like when we were young.
That already happened.
And the bullies will pick on you until you stand up against them and show them that you're not afraid. I don't understand why more people don't understand that we have to stand up to them and not be afraid.
All right.
I'm a man with disabilities now, but I don't let it make me be afraid.
All right.
Because in my heart, the only thing I'm afraid of is a falling out of the grace of a God Almighty. As long as I stay in a good grace with a God Almighty, I have no fear.
All right. All right, Baxter. Okay. Thank you, Baxter. Thank you.
They obviously have no concern for people who have traveled miles and miles just to get down here to Chicago to speak to a person, not somebody on a telephone, to speak to a flesh and blood person so they can have their situation heard. Now, can we ask them? Can we let Baxter pass? Can we let Baxter get through here and get up to the building? They heard his situation.
Let him in.
Can we let Baxter in? Let Baxter in. 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 Let Baxter in.
After a quick break, this is Readyo, episode 52, Hungry for Justice. And so we're going to jump right back into the topic. And we're going to kick it actually over to Info Keith, as I know he usually brings the knowledge. I want to see, in your words, how does this relate to self-sufficiency or emergency preparedness? What is your take on this, and we're gonna get Sister Shamika's take on it as well.
Well, to me, it's definitely preparing for emergency preparedness and self-sufficiency, because most people are taught that you can only go 2 weeks without food. And in an emergency situation, you never know when you may eat again. So it may be 2 weeks, it may be 3 weeks, it may be a month, or it may be 100 days. How would you know? And to me, it takes more discipline to do it this way, because he's doing it willingly. If he wanted to, he could go to the store and grab something to eat. But his mental fortitude keeps him from doing that because he has a bigger goal in life. And so to me, it's great preparation for emergency preparedness, because now he knows minimum he can go 100 days and be okay. And that's my take on it.
Appreciate that, and it's really interesting because we talk about why, being prepared and why be prepared, why do a hunger strike. Talking about bullies and bullying look in different ways, and all of these things being connected. So, with that being said, I'm gonna shoot it over to Sister Shamika for some of your wisdom on what do you have to share with the people.
Well, as an activist, again, what's most striking about Baba Baxter's, I understand it's a struggle, but the kind of celebration of life and liberation that he's trying to show us that we can all have. It's understanding that here in America, bullying is interwoven in our culture. We're taught it's a dog-eat-dog world, and only the strong will survive. We're taught to be competitive and to be individualistic. And when you have that mentality, things that have happened atrocities that have happened to all of us, in Baba Baxter's case, dealing with the injustices that he's had to endure, makes you sometimes feel like it's your fault, or somehow the blame is on you, or somehow you deserve for certain things to happen to you. And I think what's most important, as Pete said, is to understand that our strength is in our ability to unify. Our strength is in our ability to establish our own culture and to begin to formulate our own alternatives to government that fit into our social paradigm. The key is discipline. And it's very important to establish that early on versus when your back is against the wall. Because once your back is against the wall, it looks a whole lot different. So.
Absolutely. And Brother Kojo?
I just wanted to jump on that for a second and also speak on the discipline piece, not to be overlooked, what fasting does and what it does to the mind, and how it allows us to not depend on other energy, other outside things that we really understand. I fast today. I had some smoothies, a little date bar or something, but I deliberately fasted today. I do that sometimes. But the point I'm trying to make is also understanding self-sustainability. One of the key things that's often overlooked is community, because what he's doing is he's doing this not just for the media's sake, for us to say, hey, like she just said, we are powerful people and we are connected to each other, and we have to support one another, because there's no such thing as self-sufficiency without a self-body. Like I'm a cell, and so when I organize, we have organs. Once you get organs, eventually you have the body, and so we need the body, and it's just a sign of where we are today to understand that we have to go through these things to wake each other up and help us remember our importance, and also again our ability to be disciplined and to depend on ourselves first, and then go off and work with each other, because we're always dependent on the outside world. We'll just blow in the wind with it.
Absolutely. And since we're talking about one of the questions is, who are the bullies? And there was a great response to that question on the page. I'm just going to read part of it. It's pretty thorough. And then we're going to kick it over to Brother Bill, because you're the researcher on the team. We're going to let you kind of dig into, kind of bring it home. What's some of the background to why Baxter is in this struggle? It says, who are the bullies is the question. Banks and mortgage companies. They use racist, predatory loans to drive thousands from their homes in Detroit, Michigan, and across the country. A federal government who bailed out these predators. So these are the bankers. And even when providing some stopgap relief, denies it to many, as Fannie Mae and the court system did to Baxter. While each of the last 4 years, thousands have lost their homes in Detroit and Michigan to tax foreclosure. Of the $500 million to step forward, federal funds earmarked for homeowner relief, and over half of those seeking help are denied. That's a very clear reason to be fighting back. Often for being too poor, and 40% of these funds are being diverted to tear down homes, not to provide relief. And so that really kind of frames just one way that the attack on Detroit has shaped Bubba Baxter's resilience and his discipline. What else would you share to kind of paint the picture for people on what's going on here in Detroit and maybe even nationally?
Oh, definitely. In terms of water affordability, is one of the issues that Baxter is deeply involved in. Tens of thousands of Detroiters are going without water due to significant increases in the rates. Precisely 110% increase in the last 10 years. So it's risen to a problem where Detroiters just simply cannot afford it. In addition to the increasing water rates, we have to remember that approximately 20% of Detroiters depend on Social Security for their entire livelihood. And Social Security under Title 16 pays $730 a month. So they simply cannot afford a $100 water bill. And it's morally reprehensible to cut someone's water off when you know they can't afford it because you've purposely increased the rates so they could not afford it. So that's one of the problems that many Detroiters and people across the nation are dealing with increasingly. Increasing water rates and Social Security is not, the payouts for Social Security are not increasing with the cost of living and things of that nature.
And just to bounce it right back to you, how does this relate to the letter writing campaign? And can you please tell people about the letter writing campaign to the president? How does this all tie into what Baxter's doing, the banks are doing, President Obama, and writing letters?
Definitely. So in terms of the inequalities that Baxter's campaign highlights, Baxter's deeply involved in water affordability, mass incarceration, education. So as an inequality researcher, when we look at all of these issues, when we look at the people that they are affecting, we have a president, and that is our commander-in-chief, that is our leader. And we believe that our leader should listen to us. I believe that he will listen to us because a leader should definitely understand what people are going through at any point in time in this country. And for the problem in this country to be so severe for the most vulnerable people in our society, and for there to be so many people that are affected by these issues, we believe that this is a serious issue that needs to be addressed at the highest level of office in our government. So one of the things we've done is initiate a presidential letter writing campaign. It's pretty much writing a letter. There's a template on our Facebook page that we'll talk about in a second. And pretty much what we're doing is writing letters. Everyone that we can get involved is writing a letter to get the president's attention so that the president can meet with Baxter and talk about the social inequalities that affect vulnerable people in our society. We have many millions of people that are highlighted in Baxter's campaign that he's speaking for every day. People that feel marginalized and voiceless in our society. Baxter's speaking for them. And I believe that he should be heard. And we believe that once the president sits down with Baxter and understands what Baxter's saying in terms of the laws and the protections that we're supposed to protect the most vulnerable people in our society, but they're not working. We have vulnerable people that are supposed to be protected from greedy corporations, and those corporations seem to be winning. And that's a serious problem in our country, and it needs to change. So we're reaching out to people all across the nation, all across the world, to help us in this effort to reach the president so that we can get some justice for not only Baxter, but for all the millions of people that are affected by these social inequalities.
I had a question. So why did you choose letter writing over, say, a social media campaign or something like that?
Definitely. So one of the reasons we did a letter writing campaign is it would generate we would hope that it would generate a national interest. So first, it would maintain the local interest because it gives the local media something new to report. Secondly, it's an opportunity for everyone to get involved. The template is online, it's already written. The only thing someone would have to do is just print the template and put it in the mail. And it's an opportunity for people all across the country to get involved because people are affected. It does not matter what state you're in or city you're in. Everyone has an issue that's embedded in Baxter's campaign. And we're doing this in conjunction with a social media campaign. So a petition was just launched this morning in terms of the White House petition to get the president's attention on this issue. So we're using multiple methods, every method that we have at our disposal to raise awareness of these inequalities and get the president's attention on the need for increased protections for the most vulnerable people in our society.
Absolutely. And so we're hearing that, that there's issues that are happening at our doorstep. There's, foreclosures, there's water shutoffs, there's people being pulled out of their homes. And so we're also hearing that there's multiple aspects to this. And so maybe if you could talk to why some of these things, and then we'll get into the more so like solutions, like what are we doing from here? Like what is the ultimate goal of the drive, of the campaign? Like I want us to be really like super clear. And did I hear you correctly? All people have to do is put their name and put a stamp.
Exactly. The template's already pre-written, and you just print it off, you put your name on it, and mail it off. So it's very easy for everyone to do, and I believe that there's an issue in Baxter's campaign that everyone can resonate with. So I definitely encourage you to get involved.
Absolutely.
Can I say something?
Please.
One of the things that I just want to point out is very important, and this speaks to why I call it bullyism, because bullies don't start out in life as bullies. Most of the time, a bully was bullied at some point themselves, and they learned, although it's wrong, that either you, if you can't beat them, you join them. So if you don't want to be bullied, you become a bully yourself. And it doesn't stop with children. It's the same thing with adults. And we have to change the culture. Back to compassion. The things that we learn to make important in our lives. Money. You learn that you have to have it to survive. that's the way the system is set up, not by God, but man. Man invented money, not God. When you have power and influence, you also have responsibility. You cannot take, for example, something like water, which God put water on this planet for all living creatures. Not man, God. So if you want to control things, you also have to take responsibility for your control, to make sure that everybody and every living thing is cared for. That's not happening. Everybody knows it's not happening.
That's right.
So that lets us know that we are headed in the wrong direction. When people are more concerned with greed and hoarding, and last thing I want to say is this. Everybody has to die a mortal death. Mortal death. This body that we have is temporary. You cannot take any of the things that you are greeting, and that's a new word I use, greeting after. You cannot take it with you. When you leave here, and I haven't met anyone yet or heard of anyone yet that didn't have to leave here. We know what lies ahead. And if money was so important, this thing that man made, why can't we take it with us?
Sure.
So we have to change our priorities.
Absolutely. And it's powerful words. Thank you, Brother Baxter, for sharing that. And it really, again, we're going back to why are we here? What are we fighting for? Why are we, as Baxter says, now hungry for food, hungry for justice? And who are the bullies? I'm talking about who are the bullies. So as we go through this, I'm just announcing that we're checking off these questions that we said we were going to answer.
Let me say one more thing, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Please.
Bullies on the playground are usually people who are bigger, stronger, and they use these advantages against mostly people who are vulnerable, smaller, weaker, get picked on. They pick on, in other words, they select somebody that they think that they can beat. They don't pick nobody that they are concerned with whether or not they can beat them. They pick the weakest, most vulnerable person to pick on. It's no different out here when you have money and resources and somebody else don't, and you pick on them. You don't beat them down physically, but you beat them down in other ways.
That's right.
So people always ask me, who is the bully? I say, if you use your advantages to harm someone else, then you are a bully.
Ashe. I think that really gives clarity and brings it home again to how do we identify bullies. And I know we got to take a break, so we're gonna take this moment to take a break and come right back. We give a shout out to the studio audience. Shout out to everybody looking good. Yeah. We're right back. This is Radio, episode 52, Hungry for Justice with Baba Baxter Jones. Peace.
Radio. My question was for Charles Bell and Barbara Baxter. I just wanted to know more about the letter writing campaign and what were some of the issues specifically. I know we talked about water, the water situation with the shutoffs and the foreclosures and some of like the prison industrial complex and just inequality in general. But what specifically is being addressed in Baxter's situation and also with Detroit as far as inequality goes with the letter writing?
So in terms of the letter writing campaign, all of the inequalities that you just mentioned affect Detroit directly. So in terms of education, incarceration, water affordability, those are all issues that affect, and there's a long list in Baxter's demands of issues that are related to the request. And I believe a pardon for Reverend Pinckney is included in the demand request as well.
Political prisoner.
Political prisoner as well. So if Baxter wants to talk a little bit more about the demands and the issues that are addressed in the campaign, go ahead.
Well, I would also like to say that in the case of the city of Detroit, many other urban communities that are oppressed because of loss of jobs, appointed emergency management. In our case, bankruptcy, which I believe that a lot of the things that have happened were manufactured.
That's it.
I'm just gonna say it.
That's right.
People losing their pensions.
That's right.
Something that, as a worker, you never think that your pension is something that's not protected. These are the things that I'm concerned about. The protections that we take for granted, they're not protecting us. Our voting power, we elect somebody or something
and then somebody can just come in and undo your democracy, just take it away. This goes against what we as Americans in this country, it goes against the grain of what we believe in.
And what the law is.
And you see people with wealth able to buy their way around the law to influence and manipulate the justice system.
So we're gonna get some another question from the live studio audience, and if you could say your name and then your question and who your question is directed to.
Sanu. So my question is to our elder and to the young queen. A spiritual shift. So it's an overall thing. So with the system that we're fighting, we're creating systems. So it's an infusion and like a diffusion of like our system from their system. So like how do we balance like being totally like black supremacy and like having a hand in politics and like working within and without to get out like over the next 100 years, like what are the tools and like how are the tools would be how would the tools be used to move us towards the liberation that we want. So
basically with that point.
Sister Shamika, you want to take a crack at it first?
I want to start out by saying the word revolution means change. It's not a bad word. Some people try to make it out to be a bad word because they don't want to see change. Change is uncomfortable, but necessary. Nothing stays the same. People think it does, but nothing stays the same. Inside the word revolution is word evolution. The growth, which is part of change.
First, let me say that's an excellent question. That's a question that we, as activists, pour over in think tanks and in dialogues and conversation. It's the question that kind of burns in our hearts when you get ready to go off to college, as you get your college degree and you wonder what your next steps are, what your role should be in society. The best example that that was given to me was actually from Baba Baxter, who has experience as a boxer. And in most organized sports, there's always an offense and a defense. And I think that in planning our strategies, we have to understand that we must do both. Not each individual simultaneously, but as a collective, we must do both. There may be some of us who are better at the offense, and they should be allowed to do just that. And then there are some of us who are a little bit better at kind of being the spooks who sat by the door and having a different approach to addressing supremacy, specifically as I guess what it all boils down to, imperialism and supremacy. As an activist, I would also say that each individual, no matter what level you're operating at, has to be proactive and not reactive in an organized fashion and voicing their dissatisfaction about what's going on. While I may not have the, let's say, a housing issue, my issue may be with education. I have to strongly voice that concern and to make others aware that I'm dissatisfied and uncomfortable, and not be afraid of the consequences, like as Bible Baxter said, to be uncomfortable. That can't be a fear. I also want to add that Neely Fuller actually identifies areas in which we should all operate and begin to address our oppression. And I'm not going to give the list of them, but if you Google Neely Fuller, you can actually look up those 9 areas of people activity in which you can find where you fit in to address whatever issues that are oppressing our people, or that you feel that are most strongly oppressing our people. And in doing research about Neely Fuller, and actually doing boots to the ground work, accountability is a must, not only for our oppressors, but for ourselves. We have a lot of housekeeping to do, and if we're not willing to take that accountability on ourselves, there's no way we can ever expect for someone else to care more about us than we care about ourselves. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
I also want to say, when you're looking to get something out of something, you have to invest. If you put $5 in a bank account, don't expect to get $100 back. If you want to get $100 back, you have to put $100 in. And be prepared to do the work that's necessary. I want to say this too. Our ancestors paid a big price to build this country. Blood, sweat, tears, death, ultimate prize, sacrifice. When I say stop being comfortable with being uncomfortable, I think about the Montgomery bus boycott. I think about the mothers of families that depended on those buses to get to work. 40 miles, 50 miles. But when it came time to support the bigger picture, they would rather walk till their feet bled, not blistered, bled, than ride that bus. You have to be prepared to give up something in order to get something. Frederick Douglass said it best. Power concedes nothing without struggle. I'm struggling. I'm asking people to struggle with me. I've had a lot of personal things that have happened to me. And believe me, I could have gotten some justice for myself if I was selfish. But I don't want you to fix my problem without fixing the problem.
That's right.
That's what I'm after.
Absolutely. And so we're talking about operating in two worlds. and building the new and fighting the bad. I wanted to let you share some of your points in the couple minutes that we have left.
Well, I felt that the entire segment has actually addressed a lot of the solutions that we need to implement in our day-to-day lives. First of all, fighting against anything takes putting it as a part of your day-to-day lifestyle. It has to be something that you eat, drink, breathe, sleep. It's not something that you just do on Sundays or Saturdays or the weekends. So that would be the first thing. And then second, there have been some tangible things that Charles have shared with you in terms of the letter writing campaign, petitioning, social media. There's a multitude of different things, especially as of late, ways for people to become more involved. So I don't want to get into the nuances or details of it specifically, but you can always just begin to do research. I would say starting with doing research.
I wanted to make a couple points about this too. The key of this is community, and we don't somehow it seems to escape us. Community, like coming together and doing something, like deciding that's the only thing that's important in life, and a lot of that, what holds us back is the mental, and just thinking these random thoughts about how this person does things different than me, but that's the evil thoughts he was talking about, these evil things that corrupt us, and a lot of it comes from, again, with the ancestors, understanding what were the ancestors doing, what did they do that held them together? They went through things that we don't even want to begin to imagine in our minds. So what kept them together? What did they do? What was it? Because on some level it must have worked, and we're not doing that now. And so at the very least, we got to stop doing this, do that, and then see the way we bring babies to this planet, the way we treat the body when it passes on, the way we treat our food. Like, these are things that builds community. And if we don't start looking at that and deciding that this is important, all the other stuff is not important, this is important, we'll have the same conversation. It'll be the next guy, and it's up to us. Because for some reason, consciousness has given us the moment to reflect on this and hear it. So how we respond to this will dictate how we look at ourselves in the mirror. We got to understand that.
Absolutely. And so just to, as we wrap up, I want to share that there's a 6-point strategy that it deals with the brother's question specifically, how do you deal in both worlds? And that is, I got this from energy justice work, environmental justice work. It says, fight the bad, build the new, which is a movement of movements, change the story, it's number 3. 4, strengthen democracy. 5, change the rules. And 6 is move money and resources. And so that means operating in both worlds, building our own, but also fighting those fights. And remember what Baxter always says to me is, you can't win a fight that you don't throw. You don't, if you're in the ring, you haven't even put up your guard. You're just letting the bully wail on you. So these are a lot of the different perspectives that we need to be able to put our guard up and be able to start beating back the bullies.
And never has an oppressor ever set a system where he can vote himself out. That's not a system he creates. It's not.
Absolutely. It's
with the also say, because this is important.
Absolutely.
In the 60s, whether it was the Black Panther Party or the Republic of New Africa, whatever the movement was at that time, the most important thing I ever heard is, if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. And what that says to people, there is no neutral position. There is no in between where you can hide from taking a side. Many people try to do that. They find a position of comfort because they don't want to choose a side. What did Martin Luther King Jr. say? Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. You have to think about things like this. If you are hurting and you can't feed your family, that should affect me. I shouldn't be able to go and feed my family without coming over to your house and offering you some. My conscience shouldn't allow me, and I shouldn't say allow because people ignore their conscience. We have to stop doing that. And remember what our destiny is going to be. You're going to have to meet Jamaica. You're going to have to explain yourself. You're not going to be able to buy your way out of it or around it.
Thank you, Baba Baxter, for closing us out with that those powerful words. And so I think all we have time left to do is really say where they can find you. And I think we said the letter A, the number 4, the letter B, at advocatesforbaxter.org, and that's another 4. All of this are the number 4s, right? So A4B at advocates, number 4, Baxter.org. And you can also go on Facebook, Advocates for Baxter, and also just check out Baxter Jones on Facebook as well. And in the last, I'm going to end with a quote. It says, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." And it's a powerful quote by Dr. Martin Luther King. I want to give a shout out to the studio audience, everybody that gave Baxter Jones. And I'm mindful being one of the co-hosts of Radio.
Kojo Lee. Info Key.
Sister.
Shamika Nichols.
Brother.
Charles Bell.
And Baba.
I want to thank all of you.
That's right.
For your support and allowing me to come on your show. I'm honored.
Absolutely. We're honored. Everyone's honored, right? Absolutely. So with that being said, this is Radio, episode 52, Hungry for Justice, from Detroit United Social Club. Power to the people.
All power to the people.
Peace.
Influence but your own, round you in time of peace and time of war. Here are but the tender and the black going through. You're a leader. Radio. Your race, your country. Remember that the Jew in his political and economic origins always first the Jew. The white man is first the white man under all circumstances, so you can do no less. Be black, buy black, think black, and all else will take care of itself.